producing research outcomes that are really good for your CV and for your university and supervisors, for everyone. And also, it's a big learning curve, not only doing the research, but also reporting to research at a very high caliber, international level, very prestigious outlets. So if you choose an academic career, that helps a lot. If you choose a professional career, knowing how to tell a story of a project, how to report it, how to link it with the, sufficient literature, arguments, so on and so forth, gives you really good skill sets in your professional or life as well. So now it comes to what do you want to do? So this, because the study is urban and regional planning, so there's an urban dimension there or some spatial dimension there, plus digital twins. So what do you want to do with digital twins?
All right, so maybe I can share screen first and then explain yeah.
Yeah, while we wait, we don't really have a thesis by publication scheme at ITS, but that doesn't mean so it's only a thesis by monograph, but it doesn't mean that the publication scheme is out of the question, because we do ask our master students to publish their work as a prerequisite for their final exam. So it's a win-win situation, I suppose.
Yeah. Look, basically, she can then, if you don't have by publication mode, she can put the, plain Word version, non-formatted version as a chapter, changing this article to this chapter,
Oh, yeah.
using the same thing, and then publish the academic version. And somewhere in the acknowledgements, obviously, she needs to mention that, this such and such chapters have been published as a journal article in that outlet. So
Right.
otherwise, it triggers a plagiarism, which is, because you publish a paper and the chapter is identical, then it looks like 100% plagiarized.
Yeah, understood. Yep. Okay, so take it away, Kaniya.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right, so this proposal thesis entitled An Interpretative Urban Digital Twin for User-Centered E-Governance and the Integration of Spatial Planning Documents in Makassar City. So this proposal and research is actually coming from several problems in Indonesia, especially in our study case is in Makassar City. So the first problem is that limited public understanding and readability of spatial planning. That in Indonesia, as what we can see, that planning information is commonly presented in technical and normative formats and not designed for the non-expert audience. And the next is low levels of public participations, which can be see that the lack of public awareness and understanding for coming development plans and their special implication. And the next is inefficiently communicative and visual presentation of planning information that in Indonesia and Makassar is resulting in weak translations of spatial projected into forms that can be intuitively understood by the general public. And the next is lack of integration between spatial planning documents and development planning instruments. In Indonesia, we actually have to separate the documents. There's RT/RW. That one is focusing on the planning spatial planning, and then there's RPGMD that focusing on the planning instruments that more likely to the agenda or strategics and etc. And then the last things is underutilizations of existing WebGIS platforms. For the Makassar spatial data, they actually already have the platform, but it's predominantly display only basic information, just like administrative and only selected public facilities. So this is actually our current website that they already um, facilitate with the documents and the spatial plan, but the spatial plan maps is just is in the JPEG format, so it's a little bit challenging for the non-expert to interpret all these maps. As what we can see here, it's in the JPEG formats, and because of it's a large scale, so I think it's not that effective to understand the actual plan. So another relevance that we pursuing this research is because of the Indonesian's national commitment to the governance already articulated through the presidential regulation. That this policy actually already supported by relative comprehensive legal framework to mandate and highlight the institutional expectation of digital base. And then another urgency is that the UN Agenda 2030, especially and specifically in SDG 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. More specific in target 16 that develop effective, transparent institutions. And the other one is SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities. Specifically in target 11, enhancing inclusivity and sustainable urbanization participation planning. And for our study case, why we choose Makassar, Makassar city, because Makassar is the central major metropolitan in eastern part of Indonesia, and it's also part of the active member of the ASEAN Smart Cities Network, which this program or this agenda is actually an initiative prompted of the commitment to the sustainable urban development. And Makassar City is one of the 26 selected cities of the ASCN. And then here's are the research theory grounded that I use. We use the communicative planning, e-governance transparency, urban digital twins, public participations, information and communication technology, and WebGIS platform. So according to the background research, I collecting the research statement that the problem statement that spatial planning practice in Indonesia continues to exhibit low public understanding, while the recent research on spatial e-governments, especially WebGIS, has produced sophisticated a lot of government frameworks that advance in digital visualization. In practice, spatial plannings documents such as RTRW and RDCR still remain digitally available yet technically inaccessible. So the questions are, how does the current level of access urban spatial planning document in Makassar City, and how it can affect public engagement? And the second one is, how can interpretative urban digital twin can be designed as an interactive e-government interface to improve transparency? And the third one is, to what extent does this proposed website prototype can improve the public understanding and willingness to participate in urban spatial planning? And the research aims is that how to evaluate a user-centered e-government with statutory urban planning documents in order to enhance public interpretability, and meaningful participation in spatial process. And objectives is similar with the key value before, that to identify and analyze the current conditions of the availability of the documents, and then to examine the relationship between the level of accessibility, and then to develop interactive website and prototype, and to evaluate the effectiveness of the prototype. So here's actually the benchmarking on this study. So one of the prominent example is the website from the Netherlands. As what we can see here, that the Dutch geodata platform is online integrated hub that provides access to very wide range of geospatial layers. These layers including both existing conditions and planning related data. That's all these datasets are also made available within a single web-based platform, and they can be accessed anytime and anywhere without the need for specialist software. What we can see too, that user or citizen can easily turn layers on and off, combine different types of spatial informations, and explore them with the same map interface. And then here's another example of the Dutch planning system, that they're presented two connected digital platforms that display planning regulations in a location-based and map-driven format. On the first platform, it shows that the rules are organized by administrative levels, and the system can automatically display the relevant documents and regulation that apply to the selected parcel. So users can see whether the area is covered by a draft or an adopted plan. And then the second platform here is showing that zoning plans to a similar interactive maps that where the land use designations are visualized using color-coded layers. When user or citizen click on specific location, the system can reveal the applicable zoning categories or permitted function. And then the research stages process. The first, I will assess and collecting the existing planning documents, and the method option that I probably gonna use, that reviewing, and then using the platform interface review, and then also using the policy and regulatory review. And then after collecting the data, we're going to develop the interactive base prototype that using the key value of the user-centered design-based research, and maybe WebGIS. And then after that, we're assessing to the citizen or community's knowledge on this documents plan, and the method is probably using the survey questionnaires. And then after that, after we introduce the prototype, we're going to evaluate the public response. So the method will be pre-post evaluation, usability testing, and perception and acceptance analysis. So the expected result, the first is the assessment of existing accessibility and readability of urban spatial planning in Makassar City. And then the second is empirical findings on the relationship between documents and public understanding and participations. And the last one is an interactive web-based prototype for presenting special planning documents in a more user-centered and interpretable manner. All right, so I think that's all the summary of my research. I welcome any comments and suggestions or question from Professor Tan.
Okay, Kaniya, thank you very much for the presentation. So I don't see any digital twin in this. So please don't use digital twin. This study is nothing to do with digital twin. And, sorry to say that, but there is about close to 700 local governments in Australia, and all of them have these platforms developed maybe 15 years ago. So I send you one of the link for Brisbane City Council. So what you are investigating is not novel. It might be novel for the Indonesian context, but if you want a good master's thesis that contributing to knowledge, this will not contribute to knowledge because it's not creating. My thesis was something like this, PhD thesis 25 years ago. I've done this web-based GIS for planning. So I'm really sorry to say that, but there's no novelty in this. And look, on one hand side, it's very difficult study what you are doing. Because I've done this, tens of years ago. It is a very difficult task that what you want to achieve. And it's well beyond the master's thesis, capacity. It's more than that. Not as an intellectual, but as a workload, it's too much. And on the other hand, it doesn't have novelty. There could be novelty elements like testing the website with the communities, capturing their responses, understanding participation. But to understand that, to do this, you don't need to go through 1 year of developing platforms, bringing all the scanning and turning into JPEG images of the on map. It's so much work, and the end gain is very limited. And I don't think you can make much publications from that. Look, because I'm stepping in later on, so please, Prananda, please don't get don't get offended with this. But if I was at the beginning, what I would suggest you to use something more contemporary, which will come to, let's say, Indonesia, maybe 5-10 years time, or maybe less than 5 years time. For example, looking at how chatbots could be used in planning organizations, government planning organizations' websites to provide what you're trying to provide in an automated manner. Or maybe looking at, maybe take it even further than chatbots, generative AI for planning, how they could assist public participation in the project decisions, or informing the community. There's a participation ladder. With every level, you can look at the role of this advanced chatbot and generative AI technologies, large language models for planning. And you don't need to develop something that what you do is, that's why I suggested doing by publication. Like first one would be a systematic literature review that how chatbots or large language models or generative AI or all of them are being used or considered to be used for making urban planning more participatory, more democratic, right? So that could be one wonderful paper. And the second one, in my view, you need two Q1 ranked journal articles for the entire thesis. That's the whole thing. One of them will be systematic literature review. What at the end you would develop some frameworks that to help people to understand, help planners or academics, practitioners to understand the role of chatbots, generative AI, large language models for making planning more participatory, more transparent, so on and so forth. The second paper, maybe you look at in a qualitative study, such as interviewing, let me read this, Makassar city, Surabaya city, a few other cities, planning officials, to understand from their point of view what is the role of this new forthcoming technologies, not like WebGIS, which my PhD thesis I finished in 2001. So that topic is 2001 or 1990s topic. And I did it in Turkey, so it's didn't do it in Australia. So like Turkey, Indonesia, similar countries, the same context. That was at that time it was very innovative, but now this is not innovative. So you could do a interview, let's say 15, 20 planners, decision makers, and from what you found from the systematic literature review and the framework you develop for its application or integration for participatory democratic planning, you could do a thorough survey with these 15, 20 planning professionals to understand the contributions, risk, and challenges within the Indonesian context implementation of this technology. And I'll tell you, what I suggest you is a quarter of the work you wanted to do in this presentation. You, by doing much less, you'll have a global level novelty and impact. And people might be like, I'm very curious to understand Indonesian planning authorities or government agencies, local governments, what they think, what are the barriers, challenges, opportunities to implementing these technologies like chatbots, Gen AI, so on and so forth. So it's just the first idea came to my mind. I think there could be many, many more, but what you are doing, I'm very sorry, but this is not novel. It's good education for you, but it's not a good thesis.
Thank you for your feedback, Tan. And from our side, no offense taken. And I agree with your comments on the workload. It is quite immense for a. I mean, if it were a government contract project, then I think that would be fine. But I think for a master's thesis, I think she went above and beyond what is expected. And with the chatbots and generative AI, I have some experience with explainable AI for disaster risk mapping. So I guess we could probably build on that. Chatbots are now just coming into play for commerce. A lot of the e-commerce platforms now use chatbots to help with customer service interface. So I guess that could also be an alternative avenue. And I agree with the qualitative studies interviewing these planning officials to make it more and going to multiple cities rather than just focusing on one, to enable the generalization of findings. Because as far as my experience goes, I think for high-ranking journals, they do prefer sometimes they do prefer more generalized findings, so we can't really rely on just single case studies. That's my take on it. But thank you once again. Kaniya, do you have anything to add?
Kaniya, this is academia, so don't upset that I criticize you. So the role of supervisors to help guide and academic and professional growth of the students. If you don't tell you the harsh reality, you'll learn it in a much worse way. We don't want that. We want that at the beginning. Like Prananda has a couple of ideas. You can contextualize these ideas, but this is, web-based JS is really 1990s, let's say early 2000s. So you are 20 years behind for this thesis. At that time,
Okay.
that would be wonderful. Like if you did this 20 years ago, very timely, but not now. Now, 700 local governments have really excellent level of what you are trying to achieve here in Australia, and it's standard. Now, what we are talking in Australia, what are the ways to use AI, not only having this information because this information, these platforms that I send you the link at chatbots, they are used for development assessments. Prananda knows very well. He
Yeah,
studied.
I'm familiar with that.
Now,
Yeah.
the next stage that many of us planners and urban developers are working that how AI could be automatized the development assessment process in Australia. There's a context to it. The context is that housing affordability. Australia is a really vast land, but the housing supply is very limited. And after COVID, life and then properties, rent, everything becomes so expensive. And this is making major pressure on the governments. And therefore, government wants to speed up the development approval process. When humans do that, it's, because many of the things that in Australia, because it's performance-based, Prananda's supervisor, my colleague Doug, actually, he worked on performance-based planning. When things becomes performance-based, it becomes interpretable. When
Yeah.
it becomes interpretable and you put human in the decision, there are so many meetings, so many discussions, so many, backs and forwards. So now the latest the debate in Australia is, and there's work going on with that as well, how we can integrate AI so AI could make recommendations, not the final decision, recommendations for the development assessment manager. So it speeds up the time, and so the development happens faster, and then we have more housing stock, more apartments. Hoping that, which I don't believe it will, but hoping that will drop the prices and becomes more affordable for people. So while we are talking about integration of not only platforms, as you suggested, which exist, but taking to the next level that AI automation of it, I think that type of theses are really outdated, unfortunately. It's a great learning for a student, but it's not a great thesis.
Okay. Kanya, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, actually, previously I also like worry that is it like overclaim to the digital twin? And I think, yeah, I think it is. And I want to ask about the suggestion. So the research is actually focusing on reviewing the chatbot or training.
No. You are not developing anything.
All right.
You are doing if you choose to do this topic, what you are doing is, whatever that thing you choose, either chatbot or generative AI for that specific purpose, which is in your view, I assume that because you talk a lot public participation, democratization of planning and accessing that domain, because the chatbots are very broad and it's used for many things. Prananda mentioned about commercial. So within the more, local government, state government, federal government, planning department focused, how they are being used, what are the opportunities, challenges, what are the next waves, so on and so forth, looking at this systematic literature review. So drop me an email. So I know your email address, and I send you a chatbot paper that I published with one of my PhD students. You can use it as a template. I can send you another good systematic literature review paper. Prananda has many papers. Ilman also, he published, a short while, good papers. So they have, you can look at these model papers, basically replicate the process in your research questions. You can come up with the research questions and check it with us. if it's all good. So the first one is this. And it takes you maybe 3-4 months for you to do this review and writing the paper. And your co-authors, supervisors will help you to, improve the caliber of it, and will target a good quality journal. And then let's say maximum that took 6 months. Another 6 months, you'll do this interview and write a paper. You need to use NVivo as software. I assume that you would have a copy, or probably it can be arranged. So you do the analysis. There are different approaches. So I can send you some example papers as well. So do you need to put a research proposal for your department's approval before starting the thesis, or?
Yes, formally we do. So students this semester they develop their proposals. They submit it, we examine it, and then the next semester, so the final year of their master's journey, they develop their thesis. So they carry out their research in the final year.
Okay.
Yeah, so for this case, the systematic literature review paper can serve as the sort of basis for the proposal, because we're going to the department is actually planning to make it a mandatory thing to publish review papers prior to the proposal examination anyways. So I think this is I think it's a good thing. It's a good idea. And with the timeline, 3 to 4 months to research and develop the paper, I think that works wonderfully in Kaniya's favor.
So again, if you do it this year, and if you have more time, probably if you want to, maybe do your research proposal with the 3 research key items. One of them is systematic literature review. I would squeeze the second one as public perception
Right.
paper, to check from those. If it's this year, I might have some funds to even cover some of the cost of your. So there is a platform called Prolific. If you guys have funds, I suggest you to use it. It's not that expensive to capture, I don't know, 1,000 Indonesians' public views on related to, property, public planning related topics. So you could do a public survey on that, or individually in your city, or Surabaya and the other city, you could do a household survey. And then the third one would be the interview with the planners. And that 3 would be, I think, perfect to capture a really good data sets to do really top quality articles. But I would say the public perception survey would be the additional one. If you time and energy, you do it. If you don't, 2 of them is enough. Review and then planners interview would be enough. So I'll send you examples of these 3 papers as published papers from my group. So you know in your head that what type of methodological steps you need to follow. But the rest is, if you're happy, send us your key research question, a tentative thesis title, and a research question, or few research questions, 2, 3 research questions. So we can take it from there.
Yeah, sounds like a solid plan.
Prananda,
Yes.
so you will include me officially into the supervisory team, right?
Yes.
Okay. When that happens, can you drop me an email? Because if I do this, I need to inform my university that I'm supervising someone outside.
Yeah, absolutely.
They are happy with that, but I need to inform.
Yeah, absolutely. We're still working out the administrative side. I'm working closely with the master's program um, to expedite that.
Okay. Okay. That sounds good.
Right.
Uh,
Excellent.
I think that's it from me. Unfortunately, I can't see any digital twin, but that's not a bad thing, you know. Chatbots or generative AI is probably as popular, if not more, than digital twins. So it's all good.
Understood. Understood. Thank you very much for your input. I think it's very constructive, and it helps us pave our way forward.
Okay, great. Kaniya, I send you a LinkedIn connection invite.
Oh, okay, sure.
Okay, just accept it. So
All
I'll
right.
introduce you to my other students here, and if you have any questions, you can integrate because they're doing what I suggest you a lot. So that gives you a group of other PhD students from here. So additional advice is always good. Okay.
Excellent.
All right. Thank
All
you.
right.
See you
Thank you
guys.
very much, Stan.
Thank you so much.
Good luck.
Have a
Bye
great day.
bye.
Right. Wow.